Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Doug Mitchell. I have the distinct honor of serving as the executive director of the Glacier National Park Conservancy. And I've been looking forward to this night for about a year. When I met Shayla Paradeis down here at the Backslope Brewing Company, she was kind enough to agree to my continued cockamamie scheme to bring people together for the Glacier Book Club every couple of months. Something we've been doing now, believe it or not, since 2020. I think this is our, I want to say 45th book, something like that. We've done a lot of reading together, and it's been really something that's enriched my soul. And the minute I picked up Shayla's book, I was changed in terms of how I looked at through hiking, which had really been something that I'd never had an experience with, and the depth of spirit that this person puts in their hiking and their writing. And we're going to learn tonight in her songwriting as well. So Shayla, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Doug. It's really such an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's your book is special, and it's great. I think a lot of us have the same feeling about it, which is it's neat to see other places that we, as glacier lovers, sometimes we can be glacier centric. So you flipped the script a little bit on us here, in that you wrote about these other great places in the world, the 3 great trails in the United States, and then also your experience in New Zealand. But you come to that, and you say very clearly in the book that the Sperry Forest is your spiritual birthplace.
Yeah.
Right. So you come to it from your love from Glacier. So talk to us a little bit about your journey to discovering Sperry and that being that place of spiritual peace for you.
Oh, that's such a sweet question to start with. And I came to Glacier National Park for the first time when I was 14 years old, and I was living in Minnesota, and I was sort of a lost teenager at the time, and there was something that really struck me visiting with some friends who have a cabin up in Coldbridge. And so we would gather our water and had no electricity. And of course, before going on this trip, I was 14 and just like, I don't want to be away from playing computer games like, for a week. That sounds terrible. And I just found so much solace in being in rhythm that way. And one of the first hikes I went on was up to Sperry Chalet with the group. And I guess I didn't really realize how much it changed my life, but it really planted a seed. And I went back to Minnesota, and I went on with my trajectory into musical theater. And it's like that seed just kept growing and growing and growing. And when I was 16, I started coming out by myself in the summer to visit, and I stayed at Fish Creek Campground for the first time. I was really just kind of discovering what a vacation even is at that age and how to do it. And I eventually started needing Glacier and coming back every summer with more and more heart in it, and tearing up when I had to leave. And I got accepted to the college I wanted to go to in New York City, and kind of carried on in that direction. But it felt like I was leaving behind what I really wanted out of life. And after graduating and going through some of the auditioning process in New York City, I had this one day where I just realized, well, I was number 907 in line of an audition that I got to at 5:45 in the morning. And I was just standing there in the hallway looking around and thinking, I'm not going to let this happen to me. And I turned around and walked out and made a phone call and got a job working at Lake McDonald Lodge. And from Lake McDonald Lodge, I started hiking up to Sperry once a week that summer when I was 21. And I just kept doing that. And so there's just been this real, it feels like a reclamation of my soul from getting to spend time in that forest, making friends up at the chalet, and beyond that, up at Lake Ellen Wilson is really where I feel the most alive of anywhere on this planet.
I was able to be at Sperry this weekend.
Awesome.
I can tell you
Yeah.
the spirit is alive and well. Ed Wilson, who's a big book clubber, and his wife Laura, Julie, and I hiked up together, and we had that experience. They had not been there. They had not been there in a while, and you kind of get into the bowl, and all four of us just stopped.
Yeah.
You've been, as you use the word rhythm, and hiking's a lot about rhythm, right? And you
It
get in
is.
that rhythm, and you get in that rhythm, and then when something hits you, just it changes you, and there's this vibration that happens, and you've clearly felt that, and kind of like hiking too, though. You know, you went to New York, so but sometimes you have to go the wrong way to go the right way.
I think that's
right?
really important.
Yeah, and you write a little bit about that, of having to kind of find your way, and as you think about your writing in the book, and you're mostly solo through hiking, what kind of discovery as a person, growth as a person, have you had by sometimes taking that wrong path that got you on the right path?
Yeah, well, I get to trust that now. Like it helps me it helps me put all the grace around it. Is it just like this is why we're here, right? It's to find our path. And how do you find your path without gallantly going in whatever direction and listening to yourself? So I really feel like that probably happens to me every day. Like, like walking down the grocery store aisle, like, I don't want that. What am I doing? You know? And so just to connect with your heart through it and understand that this is the path and that there's plenty of room for all of these things.
Well, and your writing is so beautiful. Talk to me a little bit about how you decided to write, how you decided to share so richly of yourself and of your story.
Yeah.
Was that a hard decision? How did you come to that?
Yeah, it happened naturally, honestly. It was a blessing, really, that people wanted to hear what was happening. And it came from love. I had so many supportive friends and family on my first through hike that there was almost like a nudge, is like, you have to share it with us. Like, we want to go with you, so share it with us. So I made an online blog at the time, and there were quite a few people in my life who were really active on it, and they would send me letters at post office drops, and just I was so well supported. It was beautiful, and I was happy to share. And at the time, it was really kind of, we were all learning together. Like, apparently through hiking is like this, you know, and apparently there are trail names. Apparently you lose a lot of weight, you know, like it was sort of like, felt like something that we were all going through together. And then it transformed, because as I kept walking, it really helped me touch into deeper levels of what I was experiencing. And it was a long time unfolding, and I'm sure it still is, but it ended up being written on its own through my hiking blog. And I've been working on a different memoir about the last hike, like really in depth. And I was working hard on it for a couple of years, and going through a wonderful writing community in Kalispell, the authors of the Flathead group, and just having this great time, just knowing that there's something I need to share with the world, and thinking it was more about that last hike that I did, and healing through trauma by walking in the woods, and wanting to tell that story. And then suddenly the stars aligned, and it was December 5th, 2022. I was sitting at a coffee shop here in Carbondale, and I just realized I already have a book. And that book's not trying to do anything. It just is. Like, the transition's already there of how my words changed as I was walking. Like, the difference of how I wrote on my first AT experience versus um, my experience 10 years later, my second Appalachian Trail walk, is like the transformation is evident without me trying to tell it. It shows itself. And so I looked up a local publisher and found out that there was one a block and a half from where I was sitting, and walked over there and had a great meeting with a wonderful woman. Elisa Amnat of Light of the Moon is the company. And 6 months later, we were published. So it was like fast, fast and beautiful.
Well, I'm going to challenge that you did nothing to make this book. I think that it's probably a lot more than just copying some blog posts and throwing them together. That said, I think one of the people who joined you, at least on part of the hikes, Eric, is with us tonight. Eric, nice
Yay!
to see you. And by way of reference, Eric works at Parkside Credit Union. Parkside is a huge community partner of ours and of a great community supporter in the Flathead, and we really thank you, Eric, for your friendship, and thank Parkside for all you guys do in this greater Flathead to make it a great place to live, work, and play. So thanks.
Much appreciated, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Great to see you. But I want to go back also to you had two little phrase snippets in there where you didn't have to do anything because it just is. I want to try and translate that into hiking, right? Because I think I find that my best hiking moments are when I just am, and that I haven't pulled out the map and had some destination in mind.
Yeah,
Do you feel that way? And I know, you say you don't have the Triple Crown because you didn't do it all in the right order, right?
Right.
But you're happy that you were just present, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel that way? Is there value in just being instead of trying to do? Did Nike have it wrong?
I think that is the transformative thing that's going on with humanity right now. Honestly, I feel like we're learning to be in our hearts, and it's so powerful, and our minds are wonderful, and they've done incredible things for us, and I'll keep doing. I love to do, but there is such a beauty to how nature loves you no matter what you're doing. And so that's really been like the golden gift of through hiking is, I stood at the end of, I think this is in the book too, so I forgive me for being redundant, but I stood at the end of the trail, supposedly on the Glacier Waterton border, the Continental Divide Summit, as they call it. And I stood there for a minute, and I really was like, okay, what happens now? I did it. Like, where's the thing that I get, and
no one put a half marathon finishing trophy over you. There was no chocolate milk.
And then I immediately started laughing, and tears dropping out of my eyes to just like, that's so funny. What did I think was gonna be here? Nothing. It was really the beauty and the magic and the gift of all of this has been with me in every step. So it's good to have that idea that we need to achieve something or prove something, or who knows, but it takes us somewhere beautiful. And
for sure.
And it was an honor to just laugh at myself at that part of my life.
So we were musing up at Sperry, and you can kind of help us muse. And I think I know most of the people who are with us tonight have had similar experiences. And the picture behind me expresses part of it. There's this feeling when you're out in nature and you're being loved by nature that is confusing to me. And I'd be interested in your perspective about, at one point I feel really small and unimportant as part of this majesty. At the same part, I feel like 10 feet tall and empowered. It's such a dichotomy of feelings. There's this power, this grace, this peace.
Yes.
It's all coming at you.
I love that.
How do you sort that in your brain and in your heart.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know, I wrote a poem about that one, sitting on the beach at Lake McDonald, and just thinking about the rocks, the rocks that wash up to shore, and they're so beautiful. But that rock, like, maybe it wanted to be on top of the mountain, and it took like millions and millions of years for it to be what it is, and now we're just stepping on it here on the shore. And I had a thought while I picked it up, but just to think, I am nothing, but I am the kind of nothing that is everything. And I often relate to nature that way, and just feeling like everything is kind of delightfully unimportant in a laughable sort of way, and yet so profound at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's super. I mean, it's very spiritual and it's very interesting. And there's not a single one of us in this book club tonight who hasn't had that experience.
Yeah.
Speaking of book club tonight, I'm joined, of course, as always, by the best team in the business. Amy Lucky is going to handle the chat. Please feel free to put questions in the chat. And also, Shayla, trail name Kiddo, mentioned working at Lake McDonald Lodge. If you've worked in the park, put that in the chat as well, because it might be fun to tell some stories tonight about different work experiences. I think it's the number one commonality in Conservancy donors and supporters is having worked in the park, spouse worked in the park, got engaged to a spouse who worked in the park. There's really great connectivity in that community. So that'd be really interesting to talk a little bit about tonight. We're going to give away, in honor of our esteemed author slash backpacker, we're going to give away a Patagonia backpack tonight. So we'll do that drawing. Gracie will be in charge of that drawing. So Gracie will be picking a name and announcing that a little later. And as I mentioned earlier, Shayla has agreed to play a couple of songs. She's has an album coming out, and so has her guitar handy. And Shayla, with that, tell us a little bit about the song and take it away.
Yeah, love to. Thank you. So I'm just gonna play one song at the beginning here, and if we have time, I'd gladly play another later. And awesome. This song is called "Walked 1,000 Miles," and I thought it would be really appropriate for this because I wrote it while I was walking the Continental Divide Trail. So it's really like, my journey along the Continental Divide Trail. And is that coming through okay? Are you hearing that? Great. Well, I walked 1,000 miles and I tried to shut my brain off. Didn't have a moment of success. So I took it to the river and I asked to shut the pain off. All the river said was yes, just yes. And I said, how do you walk when you feel broken? How do you hold the memories still? How do you tell the world in words that can't be spoken? She said, darling, you just will. So I walked another 1,000 miles. I tried to keep the rain off. Tree to tree and cave to cave. Gave up on comfort because I thought it might take some strain off. Purple Mountain told me I was brave. Brave. And I said, you can't lose what was never yours. You can't win because it's not a game. You don't get to go around closing doors, because my darling, we're the same. So I walked another 1,000 miles, couldn't help the laughter, couldn't tell where it stopped and I began. If it only took 3,000 miles to find what I was after, sign me up to start it all again. hand. We don't walk because we're aching. We're not singing because we're sad. So we don't worry about the time this is taking. This right here is all we ever had. And I'm glad.
Wow, that's amazing. You have set the bar high now for future authors. We're going to demand a song.
Thanks.
Which I know for Jerry Emery, for example, is going to be a real challenge. But you know, when I was doing my research and I was listening to one of your songs on YouTube, the next two artists were Bruce Anfinson, who's a Montana crooner, and Boz Scaggs. So you're in good company.
Perfect. Yeah.
Selection list. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. I want to switch gears a little bit. We always try and get some insight. Again, we're all pretty much dirtbag hikers at heart, but we don't have the experience you have. So I want to talk about gear for a minute or two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about gear. I know that that you have adopted kind of the hiking dress, right? Is that kind of a go-to for you?
2 thumbs up for the hiking dress. There they both are. I love it. And I do it now whenever I day hike or backpack. Wear a dress.
And where did somebody show it to you? How did you find that?
How did I find that? There's an amazing woman, Heather Anish Anderson, who once held the speed record for the Appalachian Trail who hikes in a dress. So I think she drew attention to that. And then there was hiking chat on Backpacker Radio about dress or no dress. And some women made a really convincing case for it. And then, as soon as I found out that could be an option, I was like, I could wear something I want to wear.
Who knew?
Why did I think it had to be zip off pants and a long shirt? And I want to, if I'm going to wear the same thing every day for 5 months, why shouldn't it be something I really love wearing? And I still wear that dress. Eric can probably attest to this. When I get done with other hikes, I want to burn the shirt and the pants that I wore all summer long and never wear them again. And I still wear that hiking dress all the time. So
well, that dress comes right back on. Yep.
Yeah.
I will tell you it's interesting you mentioned too about how you get this feeling that you're supposed to be wearing something. We're finding in our friends community that we're hearing that that's a barrier on diversity, equity, and inclusion in parks.
Wow.
People think they need to wear Patagucci, right? And they don't. They feel looked at if they feel other.
Yeah.
If they don't fit in. So I do think it's a real challenge in our community to think about being more inclusive in terms of that. So thanks for blazing the trail.
Yeah.
Tell us about boots, shoes.
Yeah.
What's the go-to? Two sets of socks. Tell us
Let's
about
talk
feet.
about feet. Love talking about feet.
By Shayla Paradeis.
One of my favorite. I go shoes. I wear ultras, which are trail runners. The lighter, the better. I highly recommend, if you're going to be through hiking, forget about waterproof. Like, just on a colossal scale, forget about waterproof, because wet feet are freedom. Because freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. So I highly recommend light footwear, and then it dries so much faster and you don't get water trapped in it as you do with Gore-Tex. So, and also my feet are always hot, and I haven't talked to very many women who say the same thing about their feet out in the wilderness. So for me, I want my feet to be ventilating. I walk barefoot in the snow in the winter. So I just really I really want as little on my feet as possible all the time. So yeah, I should.
Okay, so socks.
Socks. 3 pairs is the magic number, because then one's on your feet, one is drying on the outside of your pack, and then one is ready to go in case you get cold at night and need something to warm you.
Okay, that's pro tip right there.
Yep.
So how about sleeping pad?
Yeah.
Blow up, folding. What's
Yeah. I am passionate about the folding. The foam accordion fold thermarest. It only weighs 4 ounces. I've had the same one for 3 through hikes. And like, years ago, I paid $40 for it, and I still use it all the time. And I keep it on the top of my pack. So the first thing I do when I set my pack down and open it is free up that, so I have a place to sit where I can just lay it out and sit on it right away. And I really like that style. And then to me, it's an advantage not to rely on something that could get a hole in it. And those accordion folds are indestructible. I mean, I scramble through thick brush and it gets ripped sometimes, or it can get torn and it's still padding. So I'm a big fan of its durability.
So I had some donors, good big outdoors people whose children came home and found a bunch of Ziploc bags and a very intricate electronic scale, and they were concerned their parents had started selling marijuana. But it was what they used to weigh the gear that went in their packs and then Ziploc it, right? So give us this is maybe a secret, but give us no matter what it weighs, it's going in my pack.
No matter what it weighs, it's going in my pack.
Yeah.
I carry a guidebook. I don't have a smartphone. And like, to most human beings, that doesn't make sense. But I love having a guidebook. So no matter what, it's going in my pack. I also carry books to read. I almost got the trail name 3 Books when I first started hiking. And it was funny because somebody called me 3 books at a campfire in my first couple of weeks. And I said, it's not 3 books, it's 2 books and a play. Real defensive about it. So, yeah, so that
we might have a couple of questions in the chat. I see Kathy Wyatt, I think, is fired up here.
We definitely do.
Cool.
Shayla, this is so interesting. And I think you speak as beautifully as you write. So
thank you.
That's a real treat. So a couple of questions, but also a couple of comments. So Joy commented, thank you for your experiences. Many of us may never be through hikers, but we can experience through your stories, feelings in life, which is so true. And then Dave mentioned, Shayla, you're such a free spirit. I'm sure you hear that. You've heard that more than once. And such an inspiration to us in so many dimensions. Thanks you for being you and sharing so much with us.
Oh, thank you.
So those are just, and I should mention that Cheryl Taylor says that she loves the idea of a dress and she's going to try it this summer. So maybe we'll see her on the trail.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I'm going to bump back up. Actually, Eric had the first question. And he said the sections that he hiked with you on the PCT, Trail Magic and Hiker Feeds were some of the best and most uplifting moments. And that the two of you talked about doing that at some point. And have you done that? Have you given back and done some Trail Magic and Hiker Feeds?
What a beautiful question. All of the Trail Magic that I've done has been accidental, or serendipitous is a better word for it. Like I've often picked people up on the trail and driven them somewhere, or I had one person spend the night in my cabin with me. I had a spare bed in the bottom of my cabin. She turned out to be a Kiwi, a New Zealander, and we are good friends today. And I ended up going to visit her when I hiked over there. So that was beautiful. But yeah, so all of the Trail Magic I've done so far, other than showing up when I have road support with a cooler for people, so just kind of like leaving behind some snacks for hikers while I'm through hiking. Otherwise, it's all been serendipitous. But I think it would be so sweet to get some trail family together like once a year and kind of make it like the weekend that you do that and set up camp for hikers. I think that would be such a blessing. So hopefully that starts coming together in the near future.
That's super cool. How about you, Eric? Is there anything you want to share? Have you done any trail magic?
I picked up some hitchhikers here in Glacier area. But no, I think, you know, the one, I don't remember his name, but we were hearing hikers coming south. They're like, oh, there's steak and potatoes and corn on the cob up. I think it was corn on the cob. And you were like, no, steak, you can have my steak. Yeah, that was just awesome. Was it Meander? Was that his name?
Meander.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was up in Cascades, right? Like,
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, no, I haven't, but it was awesome. That was like the best steak I've ever had.
Yeah.
And the best beer. I think there's some nice cold beer too. Yeah.
Wow.
There's a man who won. There's awards on the Appalachian Trail for Volunteer of the Year or Angel of the Year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I met a man named Moose who had won the year before on my 2021 hike because he figured out the technology to have ice cream in the woods.
Oh, genius. That's amazing.
And he was above and beyond. That was just like an addition to his amazing 3-table spread that he did for the entire month of June or something. Maybe July. I think the entire month of July, every weekend in Pennsylvania. So just, it's really so profound how much it means to people to support hikers and how much it means to hikers to be supported. And to me, it's what humanity actually is. So to get the opportunity for us to be how we naturally are and to relate the way that we naturally relate, trail magic is that. It's so powerful.
Wow, what a great question, and I'm glad you got to share that.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Kathy asked, one walk that didn't make it into this book is the hot route. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
H-A-U-T-E.
I always say it wrong. Hoot route, hout route.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Right. But could you tell us a little about it and how it compares with your other walks?
Yeah, I would love to. European Alp hiking is like Disneyland for me. If I were a 5-year-old, it is dreamy. It is so well set up for people to have a walking experience that's also a very cultural experience and a travel experience from village to village. And I would love to do more of it. And it tends to cost a bit more than the kind of hiking that we do in the wilderness areas of North America. You stay in a mountain chalet and you might pay, this was in 2016 or 17, so I'm not sure what's true now, but it was maybe like 60 euros, which would be, I don't know what the exchange rate is now.
It's about even now.
Yeah. Okay, great. So like $60 to $100 a night to have a shower and an amazing dinner and like a muesli fresh breakfast in the morning, and then hike on to the next village. So mountain chalet to village to mountain chalet to village. And it's just incredible. I saw tremendous glaciers. I saw ibex with the curly horns. And I was by myself a lot of the time, which surprised me. It was September 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And I thought it would be still prime time for people to be up there traveling. But I think the reason that I ended up alone so much is that people do it as a 12-day and I did it in 6 days. And so I just kind of like bunny hopped people rather than being on the kind of same trajectory that everybody's on. So it was glorious. I highly recommend it. It goes from Chamonix, France to Zermatt, Switzerland. And there's also the Ultra Tour de Mont Blanc, which goes around, or the Tour de Mont Blanc, the Ultra is the race that runs around it. But that is about the same distance. They're both about 300 kilometers. And a lot of people do them as a 12-day journey, and they are so romantic in every way and steep. And I thought I knew steep. I was really like, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. I've been to New Hampshire. They were steep.
You go to Sperry every
Yeah,
day for
Mount Brown.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
This question I love from Carl and Candy. What's the most unusual trail name you came across, or maybe a favorite? I kind of like Meander. That would be me, I think.
Meander's really good. There have been so many good ones, but my favorite, I tried to change my name on the Appalachian Trail because somebody told me about the name Stealth Donkey, which happened when they were in Patagonia. Somehow donkeys actually snuck into their camp and got out with their underwear. And they saw a donkey walking up on the ridge in the morning with their boxer shorts in their mouth. and so we came up with the idea of like Stealth Donkey. And I was like, I want that to be my trail name. And at the time I was getting a little bit more recognition than I wanted, which isn't a big deal. It's sweet, but so many people had heard of me. And so I would get somewhere and they would be like, oh, you're Kiddo. You hike 30 miles a day and you wear a dress, and you're like, I was like, how do you know about me? And so I was like trying to pretend I was Stealth Donkey for a week. But every time I tried to say that, I would laugh and just get it. It's like, dang it. I really want to be able to pull this off, but I couldn't.
That's great.
There was a really clever name, a man whose first name is Deneb. He was staying in a hammock on his first night and it fell to the ground, which is something that happens to a lot of people when they're getting used to their hammock. And Deneb is a star in the sky, so they ended up naming him Falling Star, which I thought was genius.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to take just a little bit of a break in the action. You'll notice I changed my background. You know, during these conversations, we discovered a couple months ago that people were saying, this is so exciting and how can I help? So we talked to Shayla and we picked a project that this is the Fish Creek Campground, as I mentioned. It's the place that Shayla first camped. And we have a project that we're fundraising for this year for next to significantly increase accessibility at the Fish Creek Campground. It's a major issue that the park, all parks pretty much, have been dealing with as we've tried to modernize the ability for people of all types of abilities to be able to use the campgrounds. And there are pieces and parts at Fish Creek, but they're not connected. And this is one of the park's largest front country campgrounds, 175 sites. So to be able to have power at some of the campsites so that people who need electronic equipment overnight can have it, to be able to connect the handicap parking space to the bathroom, to the campground, to the picnic area. It's a big project. We're doing a $130,000 project next year at Fish Creek Campground. This will also be the year we're going to culminate the completion of the handicap access trail all the way around Swift Current Lake in 2025. So if the Fish Creek Campground suits your fancy, Andrew's putting in a link to be able to click and do a donation from right here to support that. If you're like me and that is a little bit too techy, just put I'm interested in the chat and we'll get some information out to you and you can learn more about the project and share it with other people as well. So, you know, hopefully we'll make some more progress as we try and make sure that, you know, Stegner's idea is only that parks are America's best idea only works if they're really America's parks, and that means everybody's parks. So thanks for everybody's support for all we do. And if this project moves you, thank you. And with that, Shayla, I'd ask you to play another song if you'd be up for it.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. I think this song probably explains itself. You won't ask for the truth, it's going to split you in two. I said you're gonna run, well I'm gonna stay. It's long overdue, and we got some mountains to move. So you might as well get out of our way, because it's never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough. Still got the ground, no matter what noises you hear. We don't have to buy what's being sold. So now look around, I don't see a reason for fear. It's simply not true, the story we're told. How we're never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough. There is always faster, and there is always more. So it is unattainable, this thing you're looking for. But if you're looking for light, I'm gonna bring it to you. 'Cause you're made of love, you're not made of fear. It's gonna be bright, it's gonna be easy to do. I'm just gonna come and hold up a mirror and show you're born with enough, made of enough, always enough. You are enough, we are enough, and this is enough. I put down my weapon and I put out my fire. You are always welcome when you're ready to retire. From the never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, never enough, 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 enough. Yeah, da 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 da. Yeah, da 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 da.
Amazing, amazing.
Can
Okay,
it, does
so,
the sound come through okay? Can you guys hear it all? Pretty
oh,
well?
it's fantastic. It's just
Good.
perfect. So, so when is the album release, and
Yeah.
how is one gonna get their ears on that?
Yeah, well, I will keep it all posted on my website, which is atkiddo.com. And we'll put it probably most places. So Spotify and other live streaming, YouTube, it'll be on many platforms, which I don't even really know what those are.
And Gracie's just shared your website
Great,
on the link as well. So
yeah, and then I don't have a date yet because I have a dear friend who is who's producing it, and he's really basically doing it for free, which is incredible because he is a really good producer. So
awesome.
yeah, so I'm very blessed.
Awesome.
And
right.
I will, yeah, I'll let y'all know.
We'll keep our ears peeled, as they say in the business.
Yeah, we'll be releasing 3 singles before the album comes out, and those will be out this summer. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to having you back up in the Flathead, and maybe there's a mini concert at the back slope or something.
I would love that. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Or the grand opening of the new Parkside Credit Union here in Columbia Falls. I know so Amy, I know we've got a few more questions. Reserve a couple of minutes for me for a speed round, because we can't let Shayla off the hook on that one.
Of course, and we have the giveaway that I don't think we've
giveaway. Yeah, so whenever you're ready, Gracie.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 3 more questions. I think 2 more in the chat, and then Sometimes I get selfish and have to ask my own questions,
Great.
Shayla. But, I saw that Dave had a second part to his comment. His question is, Dave, I was wondering if you'd unmute and ask your question.
Right. Well, I always read the acknowledgements, Shayla, because I'm always interested. And I noticed the illustrations in the book. And I thought, well, maybe you'd done those, but it turned out you didn't. Somebody named Sasanko Wilson, but you didn't put her in your acknowledgements. So I just wondered about that.
Yeah, like what's my relationship to that? Yeah,
What's wrong with her?
she's wonderful. I was able to find her through Fiverr.com. And what I did was take photos and send them to her. And she's really good with computer apps and turn them into what they are and send them back. She was amazing. And then I just asked her how she would like to be acknowledged in the book. And she said just by name as the illustrator.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for solving that for me. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't, it was my publishing consultant who brought up that possibility. I was like, oh, that's a thing. That's great. That's amazing. So
they're very special for sure. I also forgot to note that if you would note in the chat that you'd like a book plate, you can either email Gracie at glacier.org or put in the chat that would mean Shayla will do a book plate for you as well. So.
Great question, Dave. I always read the acknowledgements too. So that's I'm glad to know that others do that. It's important. Lisa wanted to know, where's your next through hike? And do you still expect to be doing it in your 80s, like the man that you met in your book?
Oh, what a beautiful question. I would like to keep hiking the Appalachian Trail because it's just such a profoundly heartwarming experience. In a perfect world, which, you know, it is a perfect world, next summer, I would love to be through hiking and doing talks along the way. And especially leaning towards speaking at spiritual centers, because that's been profound for me to just feel like many of us are deepening into wanting to connect with nature. And that's been just a really wonderful place for me to have some outreach. So yeah, so that's the hope and dream, but I'm open to wherever life goes. And I would be honored to still be through hiking in my 80s, and I'm a believer that that is possible for me.
I think it is for sure. If anybody can do it, it's you. Sounds like you have such joy. What about the intersection of your music and hiking? Is it the same experience for you?
Good question.
How do they work together?
Yeah. I mean, I this last through hike in 2021 was the first time I really called myself a musician while I was hiking, and then I made it important to me to play a guitar every opportunity that I had. So when I would get to a town, I would look for a guitar and sometimes a piano if I could find one. And so there's a confluence when it comes to instrumentation and hiking. But the thing is, I am always singing, like always. And I've been that way since before I could talk. So like I am very often singing my heart out when I'm walking in the woods and doing like rhythm things and writing songs while I'm walking. So, and that's a big part of what I love to do. And I love to share the kind of songs that I hear when I'm out there walking around. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, one more, and I'm gonna challenge our audience members as well. You mentioned how Sperry is kind of your spot. Are there other spots in Glacier or outside of Glacier that just really, really speak to you? And for those who are on the call, if anybody wants to share their sort of spot in Glacier, I would be interested to hear, and then we can share those with Shayla too.
Yeah. So Sperry and Lake Allen Wilson are the most profound for me. And I really love Lake Francis. so much. I dream about Lake Francis all the time. So, yeah.
Julie and I stayed over at Lake Francis 2 nights last year, and then
Mm.
hiked home all on an intermediate day, so we could leave our gear and then just blast up the hill.
Yeah.
That place is crazy special.
I don't know what it is about it. It's just so stunning. Like I just take a nap next to the lake and I feel like a new being. It's so amazing.
That's for sure. Well, Gracie, you've got a winner for us, I see.
Yes, I thought it was really fitting that the name I picked today was Joy. Our friend Joy Johnson here, I think I saw her on the Zoom. So email me at info@glacier.org and we can get that backpack sent to you.
Congratulations, Joy.
Sitting right here in my office. So that's awesome. Well, it wouldn't be book club without a quick speed round. So I have 5 questions for you. They're very easy, but they're very important. And so we're gonna go first with singer-songwriter is the subject, and your choice is Carole King or Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell.
Okay, Joni Mitchell, very good, very good. I'd like to say she's my aunt, but you can tell by my lack of talent in any way, shape, or form that we're of no relation. Okay, we're going to go way back to your history with musical theater, and the topic is, or the category is Broadway musical, Fiddler or West Side Story.
In all honesty, Fiddler, because I sing it in my head almost every day. Yesterday I was like,
okay.
Wonders, miracle of miracles. So yeah, Fiddler on the Roof.
It's a classic for sure. So we're gonna go on a journey in depleting backpack, and you're gonna have a choice of Starburst or Jolly Rancher.
Jolly Rancher.
Jolly Rancher. Is that because it lasts longer?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay,
otherwise I chew it too fast. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna then go to your Heart Place Sperry, and we're gonna say best backdoor access, and we're gonna say Floral Park or Gunsight Pass.
Gunsight Pass. I love
Gunsight.
Floral Park, but yeah, that connection to Ellen Wilson.
Right, because you get all the highlights on that.
And just crossing the divide, it's so powerful to one side to the other. Yeah.
And then a traditional question we ask all writers of any substance, which is mean we don't ask it to some, but we do ask it to the good ones. Stegner or Abbey?
Abbey.
Abbey. Okay, very good, very good. I'm a Stegner guy.
Yeah, that's cool too.
That's why I'm wearing a collared shirt, I guess. I'm a little stuffy. And Abby's not a rule follower. Okay, well, there you go. That's that is thank you for playing our game, and I want to get back to the glacier connectivity piece. And I was kind of taken that as you transitioned us in the book to going to New Zealand, that one of the first characters you introduced us to in New Zealand, people, was Raquel, who comes to you from Glacier.
Yeah. Yep.
So tell us a little bit more about her and that connection, and then also, does Glacier pop up for you throughout your journey? I find it does on airplanes for me.
Yeah.
Like everyone has a Glacier story. So tell us a little more about that relationship and how it started and where it's gone. I know she was starting a nonprofit, and perhaps kind of what the Glacier community and feeling is like for you as you travel.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing to talk about, because it does feel like it's always connected. Like wherever I go, there's a Glacier connection. And Raquel was at the Sperry Trailhead in a van when I found her, which I didn't realize was such a New Zealand thing at the time. She was hiking in March, and she was the only car in the parking lot when I pulled up to actually do an interview in March before going to hike the CDT. One of the local newspapers came to interview me there. And she popped out of her van, and I was like, "You spent the night in there, didn't you?" And she's like, "Yeah." And we went walking around in the woods together a little bit. And then I told her that if she needs a place to stay that night, please come to my cabin. I was having my going away party for going to hike the CDT. And I was like, "It's a party. There's going to be food. I have an extra bed. You should come." And she did. And then, gosh, I guess just 3 years later, I found myself being hosted by her on my way to the start of the Tiararoa. She picked me up from Auckland and took me up north so that I could take a bus to go start the trail. So yeah, and she's amazing. She had just had a meeting with Jack Johnson talking about her company that is committed to getting plastic out of the ocean, and
wow.
was revolutionizing some of the technology to do so. And she just taught me about life on a ship and how beautiful it is to be a crew, and some of what's going on with plastic in the ocean. And she's just incredible. And the way that I relate to her now, I think about it all the time, is that she told me that when she started that, she just knew that she found her thing, like that, like everything in the universe was kind of aligned, and it was all she wanted to do day in and day out. And that's what I feel like I understand about myself as a hiker. Although it's writing and it's music and it's more than just one thing, but like I just really understood her in that. And yeah, but I mean, all over New Zealand, people mentioned Glacier National Park all the time, which was amazing. Even Sperry specifically, because it had recently burned, and it was global attention. And yeah, it comes up everywhere. Pictures of Wild Goose Island were popping up on my screen in Australia this year. Wow. This is amazing.
There is that attraction, right, to this place. And we're working on a project to restore the Burton K. Wheeler cabin. And Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler back in the 1920s obviously didn't have a car. And so when they would recreate at night, they would canoe over to Lake McDonald Lodge if they heard live music or something, but they would leave a lantern lit on a little cairn there. And their grandson explained to me that was their beacon to use the word, there was the beacon to find their way home. And I think that's how a lot of us, the Glacier is for a lot of us. It is the beacon that helps us find our way home.
Absolutely.
And it really touches people. And you have touched people tonight, Shayla. Thank you so much for being with us. We're the Glacier Book Club has been super nourishing to me since in my basement, and we were all kind of in our basement in 2020, and I reached out and said, "Hey, I want to read some books about Glacier and talk to the authors." And the fact that accomplished people like yourself are willing to spend evenings with us and share your talent is really important to us. So thank you. One of the ones I'm really excited about later this year, the author happens to be on tonight. This is a guy who will definitely get the Stegner Abbey question. Jerry Emery wrote an amazing biography of George Menendez-Wright, one of the first biologists in the National Park Service, and that will be in November. That's going to be a real gem as well. And in between that, we're going to do Permared with Deborah Magpie Erling. We're doing that in concert with the indie bookstore in Hamilton, so it's going to be super fun. Jerry and I will be coming live from Marin County, California. Sorry, I'm taking some medication. It dries out my throat.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you all for joining us again for another evening talking about how much we love Glacier and now how much we love Shayla. You are a member of the family now. So we all are going to want to see you when you come home.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see you.
Thanks so much, everybody. And everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you, Shayla.